Hello you lovely lot, and welcome to the fabulous Blundell's Fishery, where me and Jamie are doing another winning waste today. But while he's talking to the Sky Crew, because we're filming for them as well, multi-talented we are, I thought I'd just take 5 or 10 minutes out to tell you about my most recent matches. Now, since the last time I did one of these, after I qualified for the Fishermania, my next match after that was the Golden Reel qualifier at Partridge Lakes. I'd only gone and qualified for that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to talk you through how I did it. I drew a flyer, filled it in and just caught shallow all day. No, there's a bit more to it than that. So in sort of the weeks leading up to it, I've been doing a lot of coaching at Partridge, obviously, because that's pretty much what I do all the time. And the weather had turned, it had gone absolutely horrendous. It had been sort of like really warm, fish had started spawning. And then the week leading up to it, it had just gone sort of like horrible and windy and cold. And, you know, it poured down all day and the day before it as well. And what I'd noticed through coaching is the fish had all dropped back to 3 foot. Now most people that I coach, in fact everyone pretty much this time of year, I'd always say, and we always start off on a mud line, I'll always say find that 2 foot and you want 2 foot and less, otherwise you're just getting too many liners and far lookers. But as I say, during coaching we just couldn't get a bite on that, and it all changed. It had gone back to hard pellet. Now hard pellet for me, I mean, speak to someone like Jamie, who just fishes hard pellets all the time. Yeah, hard pellets, let's get them on. But for me, hard pellets sort of like when it's a little bit colder. But it's just what they wanted, that 3 foot line. So put it to 3 foot and go and find it. And that's what they were on. So thought leading up to it, I'd fancied Covey 5. So it's Coveys 1 to 6 in the bag. I had a walk round with Jake Fowles. My name's Jake Fowles. Beforehand, and we had a look, and Covey 5 looked amazing. All my coaching I've been doing on Covey 3, loads of hide in there, catch on maggots, this, that and the other. So potentially it could have been a hard match. I thought, you know, 100, 120 pound would be a really good weight and potentially get you through. There was just over 90 fish in it, so, you know, pretty achievable from a lot of lakes. So Covey 3, I was thinking with all the hide, you can do sort of 40, 50, 60 pound of hide and then wait for the carp and the F1s to move in. So we had a walk round, fish jumping everywhere, but it was pouring down. It was cold. It was only, what, 9 or 10 degrees, that's all. Proper wrapped up and everything. Didn't have my blades wear on though. Gone in the bag and I've drawn peg 126 on Covey 5. Proper made up for that peg. I do a lot of my coaching on that peg. And you've got quite a bit of room. What it is on Covey 5, you walk over a bridge onto a spit and you're the first peg. So 125 is to my left. That wasn't in. 101 was in, 127 was out, and then it was 128, 129 was out, and then it was 130. Mark Tregear drew 130, and he's had a lot of room. Obviously 131, and then pegs 113 and 115 weren't even drawn. And young Mattiel was on peg 111, another fantastic peg. But the trouble that they had on that side, and pretty much a lot of the anglers on the lakes, was the wind. The wind was absolutely horrendous, whereas me on the spit, I had it off my back. It was sort of like coming over, sort of that direction over my left shoulder. So it was perfect really for what I wanted to do, what sort of envisaged, I can't even get the words out, would happen on the day. So I've set up 3 shallow rigs, because you never know, although it had gone cold and not really caught a load, not through practice but through coaching, some point in the day they were coming onto it, you know, sort of like 2 o'clock onwards they were proper coming onto it. So that's why I set 3 up. I set one sort of like 12 inches, one about 18 inches, and one for sort of between 2.5 and 3 foot, so I could really search him. I set 2 rigs up for a cross, one in 3 foot, using an 8 number 10 float, nice sort of slim body Chianti style float to fish hard pellet, and then I set a mudline rig up, because, you know, you just never know in fishing. You've got to set everything up, and the rig that I had for my 3 foot line, I set that up for down the edge as well, just on a top kit, because they've been catching a hell of a lot of fish just on the top kit on these waters. The F1s just going nuts, especially on Covey 5, where generally it's smaller F1s, you know, sort of like £1 up to £2, whereas the original Coveys 1 to 4, they tend to be a little bit bigger in there, sort of averaging 2, 2.5. So everything was on 0.16 mainline, 0.12 up lengths, and 18s hooks, either Guru Kaizen or Gamma Power Carp for the banded pellet. So all in's gone, it's pouring down by now, proper cold, blowing an absolute gale, but as I said, it was on my back, so wasn't really affecting me at all. I've gone in and I've tapped in sort of proper Jamie style. You'd have been well impressed, Jay. Tapped in sort of 10 pellets on 3 foot line, and I've just sat there and sort of like looking around, started off in my shallow swim like that. Yep, that's going all right. Looked across, I'm like, where's my float gone? So I forgot to tip-ex my back shot, so I thought, oh, here we go. So I've gone to pull my pole back. Last thing starts streaming out. I couldn't believe it, like literally within sort of 20 seconds, I was snarled up in like a big common, 6 pound common. Now, obviously there's carp in all the lakes, but this particular day, I've never seen as many carp, but more about that later on. So he's waddled around a bit, netted him, tip-ex a back shot out, and it was just steady away. That first hour, I bet I've put 45, 50 pound in it that first hour. It was absolutely solid, I couldn't believe it. And everyone else was catching like, but they couldn't really get the presentation. They were sort of like down the edges and not really being able to hold it across, and a lot of anglers have gone sort of shallow too early. But you know, they were forced onto it because of the conditions and how quick I was catching pretty much. So after that first hour, it's just started to go a little bit slower, but I was still putting fish in the net. I was more than happy with what I was doing. And then after that sort of 90 minutes, it started going a bit iffy. So all I was doing was tapping a few pellets in, 8 to 10. I wasn't loose feeding at all, just tapping 8 to 10 in and waiting for that bite, proper Jamie style. So after that 90 minutes, as I say, I've come off that line, rested it, knew there were fish there, because what I didn't want to do was extract every single fish. Big match like that, no one was bothering me across, so I had it pretty much all to myself. So I wanted to leave fish there to draw others in, always thinking. So I've come down the middle shallow, started off sort of 16 inches, not a bite on that, so I've gone into my deeper shallow rig, sort of 2.5 foot, and I've had 4 F1s very, very quickly, but they were only sort of like a pound. Now, knowing with how big the carp were across, it's one of them, it's decision time. Obviously matches like this, you're only there to win. You don't want to make numbers up, you don't want section wins, you know, you're just there to win. So it was decision time then. I was waiting. I suppose I was catching fish quicker down the middle shallow than what I was across, but it was sort of like 7, 8, 9 fish for one fish across. So I decided then to come off it. So it only had like 15, 20 minute rest and just concentrate back across. And that, to be honest, that's pretty much where I spent most of the day. Every, say, half an hour, 40 minutes, I've rested it a little bit, only for 10 minutes, come back down the middle, and I maybe had 1 or 2, that's all. But that rest, literally, as soon as I've gone back across, I've had another sort of 2, 3 or 4 carp, and I've never caught that many carp on there. All the time through like coaching or matches I've been on there, it's always been F1s with the odd carp, but I caught a lot more carp today. The last sort of half an hour it went really iffy. The wind sort of turned a little bit and I couldn't really get the presentation. I knew there were still fish there, so that's when I've come on a top kit down the edge to my right in about, well, same depth of water, 3 foot. I use exactly the same rig, and I've had a good run of 10 F1s, and they were decent F1s as well. So come the end of the match, I thought I'd like 130, 140. Now instantly I heard, I think it was Jake Fowles, he was on peg 117 or 119, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry Jake. And Daddy Weed was right behind me on 121, and he'd said he got 89 F1s. I'm like, 89 F1s, that's going to be a hell of a weight, that. But obviously qualifier stamp, they might not be as big as that. Now I think Sam Slockett, he was on 101, he's had 70 F1s, and he's had 140 pound. So no, he's not, he's had 120 pound with 70 F1s. So then you're working that out, then that should be like 145, 150 for Daddy Weeds. So scales have come to me and I've had 162 pounds. So I was like, yeah, go on, get in. Well happy with that. I've had some great big commons and that. And then they've got round, words got round that I've had that. All the other weights off the other covies had come in. You know, I think 130 was best off the other covies. And then there was only Daddy Weeds left to weigh. And his first 2 weighs have gone just over 100 pound. But if he's anything like me, I always leave me sort of biggest net till the last. So I couldn't watch his last weigh, and he's like gone to pull it out. I'm like, oh no, there's 60 odd pound in there. It's going to be so close this. But luckily, I've just done enough. He's had, I think, 58 pound in the last net, so 158 pound. I've done it. So to get through to one final, obviously, for me, it's brilliant. This is what we all strive for, you know, as sort of professional anglers, if you like. We want to get through to these big major finals and take part in them. To get through to 2 is just phenomenal for me. I've still got a couple of Mavers left. I'm going to try and do a Jamie. You know, we can't all be like him. Make me sick, you DJ. But yeah, for me, it's absolutely brilliant. So got that to look forward to as well in September. Meanwhile, Fishermania practice, so I fished one more match since that, after that rather, and that was at Hayfield last week. Just went down for a quick practice. Lee Riley's run the matches. There was only 12 of us turned up. There's another one tomorrow, which I can't fish. And then there's the last practice match, which is next week. So Fishermania is only like 2 weeks away, that's all it is. So I'll go in that one because I think there'll be a lot there. But last week it was more so, obviously just to gauge what it was like. And I know there's a couple of big chucks on there, and I wanted to see how big they were. And I drew one of the pegs, 23, decent peg by all accounts, and it looked right, but I couldn't believe how far away the Arden was, and I was just not prepared for it. Having spoke to Jay, he said, you'll get there, you know, with like 11 foot, you know, beefed up feeder rods, you'll get there all right. But I was a good sort of 15 to 20 yards short on my casts. So I put a shocker on and sort of like give it loads, and I got there, but it wasn't going in the same spot every time. I was sort of like a few inches out. No, I wasn't really. I was a good like sort of 5 or 10 yards out on some cast, and then another cast would go right. So I'll get that sorted. So that's why we go on these practice matches, just to like make sure your gear's up for it. I knew obviously then it wasn't, so I'm going to go back, solve that, make sure I'm right and prepared for it for next time. The match itself, it's different. Obviously you go into these matches and you want to win, but it was more so for the practice for me. So I've set up long pole shallow. I've not set a short pole up, which you do on sort of like normal matches on there. I've not set an edge rig up. I've done the waggler, and I've not even done the bomb. I've concentrated more so on sort of like pole shallow, which I've caught quite a few Carasia one, no carp. I've had some nice skimmers, and I've caught most of my fish on the waggler. I've ended up with 71 pound 4, and that was not very good, to be fair. I think it was sort of halfway. There were two 60 pounds, there was another 70 pound, and everyone on the other bank has had sort of 80 to 100 pound. Lee Riley next to me on peg 21, he's caught really well on the bomb. He's had just over 100 pound, he was second. And then Carl Lovell Cotton next to him on 19, he's caught pretty much all day. It's sort of bottlenecks there, that lake, and it just prevents fish from coming through. Obviously him and Lee were just preventing the fish coming through to me. How dare you! So they've done really well, first and second in the match. And on the other side, it's not as big a chuck over there. So where I'd want to be in the final, I don't know. It's just be nice to sort of like be on a few fish and, you know, being with a chance to win it. I think realistically there's only sort of 3 or 4 pegs, and we're looking at sort of the strongest final ever this year. There's some proper anglers in it. So it's just going to be who does it right on the day. I think realistically there's only going to be 2 methods. You're sticking to 2 methods, I think. You can't be swapping and changing matches like that. The forecast for the day, it's going to be sort of pretty dull and overcast apparently, so we're just going to have to set absolutely everything up. And me being me, I'm prepared as ever. I've not started prepping yet, but I'll do that from sort of like tomorrow. I'm going to start doing up lengths and rigs and making sure my reels are all right. And it's just one of the things you've got to do for these big competitions. But yeah, so that's been it. Obviously, I don't fish like matches like Jay does. I fished them a couple of matches. I've got another one next week, the last one before Fish Show, and then it's the big one. It's a Fishermania final. So by the time the next vlog goes out, we'll see how we did. Hopefully, I'll be 50 G's richer. Let's find out. Yeah.